Hello there. Since I restarted this channel last year, I get a lot of questions about Teen Wolf canon and behind the scenes stuff on the regular. Some of those questions I've already addressed in videos that I put out back when hardly anyone was watching the channel. So today I figured I'd collect some of those earlier recordings on things like how the Teen Wolf timeline worked, how Beacon Hills got its name, and some other behind the scenes things. In other words, for y'all who are long-timers, this is mostly going to be stuff you've heard before, but I'm sure it's all new to somebody. If you like these weekly trips back to Beacon Hills, consider subscribing to the channel and then hit the bell to let YouTube interrupt your life every time I post a new video. One of the most confusing things for fans seems to be the Teen Wolf timeline. It still confuses me when I try to explain it, but here's an early attempt I made where I think I made it pretty simple. A few things we have to get out of the way up front. The entire run of Teen Wolf lasted less than 3 years in Beacon Hills time. It started in January of year 1 with Scott and Stiles returning for a new semester at school, and ends in the autumn of year 3 with a new school year just started. I know it seems longer, but it's not. The gap between season 1 and season 2 was just 3 days. And while they did space out the rest a bit more, it all fits between the midpoint of Scott's sophomore year and the autumn after his senior year. I've linked to the official Teen Wolf timeline in the description for those who still have doubts. It's really not funny that I had to do all that math by myself. Normally, when I have a question like that, I'd just ask Jeff Davis, but we all know that a cohesive timeline was never a priority for him, so... One thing I did get to ask him directly in one of our interviews was how he came up with the name for the town in Teen Wolf. Beacon Hills, California is one of the best-known fictional towns in the United States. But how did it get its name? We learned in Season 3 that Beacon Hills is home to a very powerful supernatural object known as the Nemeton. It's a druid ceremonial site that is, according to Dr. Deaton, at the root of much of the creature activity in the town.
It will draw them here, like a beacon.
Oh, I see what you did there. Beacon Hills is a beacon for the supernatural. Very clever, Jeff Davis. So you thought of that when you were first working on the pilot.
I did not. Yeah, that sort of developed. I picked the name Beacon Hills because the original name of the town in the original Teen Wolf movie, the Michael J. Fox movie, was Beacon Town, and it didn't sort of roll off the tongue as nicely as I liked it. So I added Hills. Yeah.
Also of note, Beacon Town is in Nebraska and does not, as far as I know, have a magical magnetic tree stump. Also, if you noticed in that video of the old Teen Wolf movie trailer, they were obviously driving around in Southern California, so yeah, not really very Nebraska-like when you see palm trees, and there was also recognizable street signs from South Pasadena. I mean, our Teen Wolf was set in Northern California, but they at least used terrain and locations that kind of matched, even when they were shooting in Atlanta for seasons 1 and 2.
I had all the time in the
Speaking of filming in Georgia, one of the problems with moving the production to Los Angeles for season 3 was what to do with the Atlanta actors who were still on the show. Now, folks like Melissa Ponzio and Lyndon Ashby were already kind of living bi-coastally, but the actors who played Lydia's dad and Adrian Harris were solidly based in the South. Now, in universe, the change meant Lydia's parents split up and her mother, Lyndon Ashby's wife, Susan Walters, took a bigger role. But for Adam Fristow, the guy who played Adrian Harris, it meant the end. Adrian Harris was that teacher at Beacon Hills High School. He was not a nice guy. So when he ended up tied to a tree in the season 3 episode Unleashed, the sympathy from the fandom wasn't flowing in his direction. It appeared that Adrian Harris died that night, but the question wasn't immediately resolved on the show, leading to some confusion. One of our subscribers, Eric, wanted some clarification. What happened to the teacher Harris? Of course, it seemed that he was killed by Jennifer, but his body was never recovered. It is something that simply stuck with me. The chemistry teacher didn't appear on screen very much, but he certainly made an impression. He inadvertently ended up at the center of two of the show's biggest mysteries. It was Harris who taught Kate Argent how to get away with arson right before she set fire to the Hale house, and his car kept showing up at the scenes of Kanema attacks in season 2. He was also mean to Stiles, he doted on Jackson, and gave Isaac detention in a small space, which was very upsetting to watch.
Please, don't do this.
I don't think many people liked Harris, but even his haters had to be a little surprised when, while he was begging for his life, he admitted to helping the Dara kill people.
I did what you asked. I did everything.
Dude, that is rotten. And while the final moments of the episode showed the rope tighten and Harris's neck flop, we never saw the dead body like we did with the other sacrifices. And as fans are wont to do, Eric came up with a theory. I remember that Chris Argent had a map of the sites people were sacrificed, and that he may have found Harris and hidden his corpse to avoid further panic and investigation from the police. Another possibility is, of course, that Jennifer got rid of the body, although it's odd that she left most of her 12 victims to be found. It turns out they did address Harris's fate on screen, but it was more than 6 months later, and you're forgiven if you missed it. It was barely a blink of a shot in Season 3, Episode 13. Did you catch it? No? Here it is again. What, too fast? Here you go. There's our Teacher of the Year Harris on the sheriff's death calendar, listed alongside the other Dark victims. While it's not definitive, it suggests his body was found, and the case is now part of the recent supernatural crime spree that the sheriff has to cover up. This last one I included in this collection only because it still pisses me off that someone would ask such a silly question. The show gave us a simple and elegant explanation that Jeff wove into the very fabric of the Teen Wolf universe. I saw someone complaining on the Teen Wolf Reddit the other day.
A complaint on Reddit? What?
That's a shocker, I know. But this one caught my eye because it's a question the show answered over and over again. Why do Allison, her dad, and the other hunters use bow and arrow when they already own all the guns? There's one main reason given back in Season 2 when Allison's dad had her kidnapped and tied to a chair. Boy, that sounds really bad when you say it out loud. How about this? There's one main reason given back in Season 2 when Allison was going through her hunter initiation in the episode Ice Pick.
Do you know why we use arrows?
They can't heal until it's taken out.
And that goes beyond just werewolves. In Season 3, we saw a young Chris Argent shoot an Oni in the face with a silver bullet. But since there's nothing but smoke behind the mask, the bullet just passed right through. Allison managed to destroy an Oni by sticking a silver arrow into its physical form. And while we lost her in that battle, her efforts led her father and Isaac to a way that they could destroy Void-Styles minions. There's also the fact that arrows are silent but deadly. They can be delivered precisely to maim or kill depending on your target. And you just look incredibly cool carrying a crossbow. But the number one reason why Allison used a bow and arrow is because Allison was really, really good at using a bow and arrow. Thanks for watching, and remember to do all the YouTube things, like the video, let me know any lingering questions you have about the show in the comments, and if you want to, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time we go back to Beacon Hills.